So I have to have the boundaries and prioritize myself and my needs to be able to honor and respect my feelings, my day, my priorities before I absorb or fix or get enmeshed in somebody else when I maybe don't need to. Welcome to the Mindful Malibu Morning. I'm Casey, and welcome back, or welcome for the very first time. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about personal motivation, self-development, mental health, and wellness, all things to help us live a life better than the day before with intentionality, with curiosity. And let's just talk about it. Let's talk about life and what's going on in our worlds. I am here to interview friends and colleagues and individuals who are on their own wellness and growth journey, as well as share my own. And I have to tell you guys that this week has been a little bit all over the place. I'm sitting on top of a storage box. I'm holding the mic, and that's okay. There's a lot of chaos right now, and my house is a mess. We're getting our windows replaced tomorrow. It has been raining. I needed to make the drive to Santa Monica today, which took me a couple hours. There's not a lot of consistency and routine in this week, and found that at first it was a little bit frazzling. Now, I know a lot of times that we might have a week where things feel a little chaotic and we're all on top of each other, and what your space and your time might want to look like gets shuffled around, and it can be really frustrating, especially if you are a perfectionist. I want to talk to you guys this week just about the general chaotic nature that life can bring and how you handle it, how we handle it. And I'm talking about really small inconsistencies with not having a routine, having small annoyances like traffic or weather or an event or something that impedes your normal day-to-day life. If you have a really chaotic week or a chaotic day, if you've encountered a sickness, an illness, or you're just handling something on your plate that is new or different than before, or to something big, if you've had a really big life shift that has altered how you're approaching your days. Maybe you might be planning for something new and different now. You might be going about your days differently because there's been something that has rocked or shifted your world. And that's okay. That's life. That's just kind of how we're here. And I have to tell you, it is not always easy to cope seamlessly and go through our days, especially when you have a lack of routine and some inconsistency with what is thrown at you. This week is very chaotic. There's not a day where things have been routine. I drove 2 hours today and sat in traffic on the way to Santa Monica in the rain. We're having windows installed tomorrow, and our house is very torn apart as we prepare for that process. I'm nearing the end of a program that I'm teaching, and I have a lot of extra grading on top of my plate. It's raining quite a bit, which always makes things really chaotic and dirty and messy because we have a small house. We have 2 dogs that are very rambunctious and like to play. We have animals, we have dirt, we have a big property. So all of this is new to me in terms of how my day-to-days are going here. I find that when I have a week that is very broken up and chaotic, I tend to be a little bit more frazzled than normal. It's not as routine. I'm not starting my day off with a cup of coffee and a journal or a workout class. And every day I just feel like I'm responding to something rather than preparing for something and going through the motions. So, we all have different days and weeks, and that's just the chaos that's happening over in our world. And I just think about how we can prepare ourselves to better approach our days, at least in a mindset of like letting the day happen, or letting things happen and observing them before just absorbing them. I find a lot of times I absorb a lot of what's thrown at me, and I absorb probably more than I need to. In my household, I feel the need to make sure, and a part of my personality trait and my personality preferences and who I am as my characters, I'm a very nurturing, caretaking person who's very aware of other people's emotions. One of the things that I really love, and this helps me as a counselor, is I am able to really pay attention to other people's feelings, help them cope, problem solve, hear them, listen. I can be really in tune to somebody's mood and want to be able to give them the space to unpack and go through that. But the problem is in my household, I don't necessarily need to fix or absorb the people's energy around me, or my family members for that matter, that call me, that I know might need something, that I know are going through something that maybe just need to be heard. But I'm in my own world and I have my own stuff going on. So I have to have the boundaries and prioritize myself and my needs to be able to honor and respect my feelings, my day, my priorities before I absorb or fix or get enmeshed in somebody else when I maybe don't need to. So this week I've been really thinking about how can I interact with what's happening in my life, knowing that it's a week of just a little bit of messiness, a little bit of chaos, and not necessarily reacting as big or absorbing as much, let's say. And that's a really hard thing that requires a lot of awareness. If you're making breakfast, if you're making coffee and somebody walks in the room, they drop some news, they tell you something, they say they need something from you, our first instinct is just to react back. We say something back, we respond, and there can be a couple seconds, even like 90 seconds of space between myself and my response. And I recognize that when I give myself the space of that 90 seconds or even 30 seconds before I respond, I'm able to better unpack how I'm really feeling. So if someone drops something new on me, I'm not fully reacting to it yet. I need to process it. I need to digest it. Or if someone's asking me to do something, I'm not necessarily saying yes right away. I need to look at my calendar, think about my commitment levels, and think that if I can really do something, think that if I can really commit to this. And that goes for answering phone calls too. So I used to have my phone on loud all the time. And I only do that when my son is napping and I'm by myself and I have the baby monitor and I need to hear a notification, or if I'm waiting for a really important phone call. Apart from that, I don't have my phone on loud. The other day, a family member called me and I answered it. I answered it when I was finishing making a reel for Instagram, and it's so silly, but it was a reel that I was having fun. It was being creative and I was almost done with it, and I was writing a caption for it, and it wasn't solving anything crazy and it wasn't a huge priority, but it was fun for me and I was almost done with the reel. I saw the name on my screen and I answered it. I answered the phone immediately knowing that that person needed something from me. And it's not that I don't want to help this person. I very much do, and I have been. But I could have very easily just called them back 5 minutes later, finished my reel, posted it, and then called that person back and given them the time and the space and the conscious awareness of that conversation. And what I found was when I answered that phone call, I of course was annoyed because they did need something from me. Rather than feeling like I could use my helping personality for good, I was annoyed. And then I was annoyed at myself for answering the phone call rather than waiting. And then when I got off that phone call, the reel had disappeared because I didn't save it and the caption was gone. And whatever, it's a reel. It's not the end of the world. But I was more upset that I wasn't honoring my time and that I honored that person's time more than my own. Of course, we all want to help our friends and our family where we can, but my family member could have waited 5 minutes. And if I had told them, they probably would have been fine. I'm also recognizing that you don't have to even text the person, "I'm busy, I'll call you in 5 minutes." We do that all the time. There's that custom text box on your phone, like that says, "I'll call you right back." Or you can press the button and it's an automated text that says, "I'll call you right back." Or have you ever answered the phone and said, "Hey, I'm busy, I'll call you right back in 5 minutes"? That's mental energy. That's a lot of mental energy and shifting that we are giving to another person another time when we can simply just not answer it and call them back when it works for us. So much of our world is very on demand, and so much of our engagement in the world is very reactive and on demand as well. I think it is so important to give ourselves the time and the space to react in a way that is going to be serving our needs, serving our family, and serving ourselves. I very much struggle with boundaries with family and friends and helping and absorbing energy, and that's something that I'm actively working on. And I notice when I have weeks that are more chaotic, my energy level my energy levels are lower because I'm not in that routine state. I'm engaging in a lot of decisions and actions and activities that are requiring different brain energy levels because they're not routine. So I'm just noticing, and maybe you have noticed this too, when I have weeks like this, I'm a little more all over the place. I forget things. I don't honor my needs as much. I skip a workout easier because I give myself more passes and because my energy is a little bit off. So what I'm asking, I guess, is if you have things that work for you during weeks like this, DM me on Instagram at the Mindful Malibu Morning and share what works, because I'm finding that if I give myself 90 seconds to just pause before I respond to the person, the email, the news, the phone call, that 90 seconds honors myself more than it ever would before. And I have to tell you, when I've also called the person back and honored my time and space, a lot of times the issue or the problem that they were calling me about got resolved. And I didn't need to be the one to fix or absorb. So honor yourself with 90 seconds this week. And if you are going into a week or some days that are a bit more chaotic, how can we prepare ourselves to not just absorb what's happening around us, but maybe give ourselves a little armor so that we are able to digest, to process, to walk through what's going on in our worlds and get back to that consistency, that routine, that boundaries, all of the things that are really healthy and good for us. And that's it, you guys. I really believe that we can give ourselves the time and the space to honor ourselves, our boundaries, and choose healthy responses. And that's really difficult to do when we live in a world where we want to help our friends and our families, but we have to help ourselves first. And we know that. And it takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of boundaries, and it takes them saying no. And that's okay. So give yourself that this week. You can find and follow me on Instagram at the Mindful Malibu Morning. If you are enjoying the content, please like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Episodes are released every week, and the topics range from mental health and wellness to physical fitness to personal motivation to self-development. I'll bring on friends and colleagues for interviews. I'll have candid conversations with you guys, and this is just an open space for us to live and grow a little bit better each day. So thank you for joining. I wish you a beautiful week.